Okay. Okay, guys, let me proceed. Let me take some problem statements and then we'll proceed with the concept. So the first thing we will see, dealing with null. Now, can you tell me when exactly you get null values when you're dealing with your data? Anybody? Can you tell me what scenarios you get null? Do you think from the real-time data what you get null values, or can you tell me what kind of a scenarios you get null value? Anybody?
Once we have a Mongo kind of a data when there is no key value pair, but when we are fetching the data and storing it here, we store all the data, but when we are fetching it, we will get the null value.
Why do you get null value? That is my question.
Because
So
like if there is
the
this
data
is
type
read
is
on.
not,
One by
sir,
one.
when there is a data type mismatch, whatever data type you are giving in your this thing, and if it is not matching with the incoming data.
Okay, I can consider that scenario. Why I'm saying is dealing with null is not the code with respective to code. It is not a big deal. But question is, when do you get null, or how do you treat null value is a very important things. But before that, you have to understand why do you get null values. That is the most important interview question. So I get some answers telling that mismatch with the data type you get null value. Okay, let me note it down. Mismatch with the data type. Okay. Now, any other scenarios?
Sir, if the
While
fields are
writing
the
the
less
data,
important. Sorry.
Once again. Yeah, Gangadhar, go ahead.
Sir, if the fields are of less importance and that field is not applicable for that record, so that time it will go as a null.
How is that possible, Gangadhar? We get the data. When we get the real-time data, we have absolutely no control to say which field has importance, which field doesn't have importance, right?
Yes or no? What I mean is, like, suppose if they are in case of STD or slowly changing dimensions. Suppose if he is recording that in the same table with a different column, so if that column is not holding for that record, then that will go as a null.
Okay, so you mean to say lookup table is null?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this also I can consider. Right. Can you tell me another scenarios where exactly you get null?
like I said, no sir. So when we are ingesting the data, we don't have the data for that. During that time also we get, while we are reading, we get it as null when we're reading the data.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
when we are storing the data also, we store it as null if there is no value for that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Now, please understand, guys, as I told you that since we are working on big data, the concept of null in general, it is both with respective to real-time data processing as well as the batch processing. That means, as and when you get the data, this is very important, guys. Please understand this. When you get your data, there are scenarios where for a particular field, the source is not able to generate the data. For example, if you take about the device name, okay, if you take about device name, the source which generates the data only when a particular device has been registered. Okay, nowadays, right, you get a lot of China mobiles which is not part of the standard devices. So when you make a call with those set of standard devices, what happens is your source will not identify that particular device is a standard device. In that kind of a scenario, what happens is it will not literally send you a null value. This is very important. What it does is, for example, you have a two columns, let's say device name and let's say device ID. Let's assume there is two important columns. For example, let me just take device ID, and for the corresponding device ID, what we generally call it as dimension data. What we call it dimension data. In dimension data, for the given device ID, you will have a corresponding mapping with the device name. Okay, now when you make a call, actually when you're doing any kind of a device analysis, you know what happens, you will never get the device name directly, you will only get the device ID. Then what we do, we perform a kind of a lookup on your, this all happens on the real-time data. So it performs a lookups on your dimension data. There are again different kinds of dimension data. For example, you can have your product dimension, you can have your customer dimension. That means the data is loaded by the customers. So for example, for the given device ID, let's assume 1, 2, 3, there is a mapping, for example, Samsung. Now all of a sudden on the network you get some sort of an unregistered device ID, let's say 32. Now, what happens is we perform a kind of a lookup on this the device ID 32 on your dimension data, and you did not get any of the device name. Okay, so what happens in that kind of a scenario? What happens is we don't add null. Instead, we add an empty space. So the empty records will be treated as null value. So this is one scenario where we get null. And obviously there is another scenarios like wherever there's a mismatch with the data type, also you may get the null value. But again, mismatch with the data type, this is something you have to note that the source system is also designed by you. If suppose the source system is also designed by you, so there is no way that you get with the mismatch with the data type if the source system is designed by you. Okay, so in those kind of scenarios also we get null values. Okay, right. So these are the two important scenarios where we generally get null values. Okay, before we proceed, any questions here? The reason is they will ask you this in interview, not about how do you write a program. Writing a program, it is very simple, but the scenario is very important. Right, any questions before I proceed, guys? Okay, I think there's no questions, let me proceed. Yeah, Gangadhar, go ahead.
Sir, it's a mismatch in the data type usually because of the code issue only, right? That should be handled.
Correct. See, always we cannot handle everything with respective to code purpose. Why? Because if I handle with the code purpose, what will I give wherever there's a mismatch with the data type? Do you want me to reject the records? Let's assume rejecting the record is not an ideal solution, because if I reject based on a particular column which I don't use very frequently on my analysis, rejecting that records will lead off so much of records getting rejected. So my actual analysis will go for a toss, right?
Yeah.
So it depends purely on the scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, any other questions from anybody? All right. So now let's look into the data sets now. So from now onwards, we'll go with the problem statement so that you will understand better. So look into this data set what we have here. Oh, I've already circulated the data set for you. So let's take a simple example. Let's say we have 3 columns: name, company, and the salary. Now let me open the data set for you so that you will understand. The data set is employee.dat file. So if you look into this data set, can you see this? We don't have anywhere null values. Please look at this. We have just the empty values here. We have just the empty values. So for all these empty values, when you create a data frame and when you print a data frame, it will actually show you a null value. Let me show you. So I've already attached this code snippet here, so that I'll just copy this code snippet. I think we have already seen this. So spark.read returns you an instance of data frame reader, and the data frame reader has method like option where you can provide different option with a key and a value pair kind of a thing, where you can provide different options how you have to read your data frame. So in this particular data frame, we have header. So I have mentioned header as true, and I've given another property infer schema is equal to true. When I give infer schema is equal to true, what happens? It will infer the type of the value. For example, all this name is of type string. So it will infer the type, the name as string. Similarly for salary, it will infer the type as let's say int. So that is what is infer schema does. And then I'm loading the data set. I think we have already seen all these things. Let me execute this piece of a code. Let me open the Spark shell. Okay, now let me do, can you see this? We are getting the null values. Now we will see how to deal with these null values. Okay, now the first thing is, let's assume I have a scenario where I want to remove the complete record if there is any null value in any of the field. What I meant with that is, for example, this name field has null value. So if at all you have a scenario where, for example, I want to remove the complete record even if a particular column has a null value. For example, now in this particular case, you see this name as null value. So I want to remove the complete record. Okay. For example, in this case, company name, this particular record as null value. So I have to remove my complete record. If I want to do that, what you can simply do is on a data frame, you have NA. Okay. NA dot, these are the methods available on a data frame. So employee data frame dot NA dot drop of any. So when you give dot drop of any, what happens is it tries to drop the complete record. It tries to drop a complete record even if any, if it tries to drop a complete record, any means for any of the columns. So we are not specifying individual column names here. We are trying to specify any. When I say any, it tries to drop the complete records for all the columns. Let me show you this. So that is what is employee data frame dot NA dot drop of any. Let me just clear the screen. Now let me just print that result. Now please look at this. It has dropped the complete records for all the columns wherever you have null values. Okay. Now again, it depends on the scenarios. When do you choose? For example, these kind of scenarios, dropping the complete column when there is a null value is rarely done. Why? Because, you know, for example, let's assume, you know, this particular data set, what I have here, I am doing some analysis on my salary, for example. So since one of my name as null value, rejecting that record absolutely doesn't make sense because my analysis is purely on the salary. Okay. So it depends on a scenario. However, you have this option wherein you can drop the complete the records for any of the columns if it has null values, right? Any questions here before I proceed, guys?
Sir, is it like if condition, like, because
It is not an if.
like,
What do you mean by if condition here?
like salary is the important field here, so we have to make sure that if salary is not there, we are just dropping those so that our like result doesn't affect from that.
No,
from the
I
data
didn't
set.
understand your question.
Like
See, this particular option, what it does, it tries to drop the null values in all the columns. It tries to drop a complete record if any of the column, if it has null value.
like if we have some data from like in our Java application, we'll do a null check, like a null check and all. So is it like this also?
No, this is not about null check, right? We are removing the complete record only.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Murli.
Yes, sir. So I have two questions. One is I want to eliminate only if all columns have null, I need to remove those rows. Second thing, on an individual column, how can I remove null?
Okay, now that is what is the second point I have here, removing record with a specified columns. Now this is very important in any of the big data project. Whenever you're working on any of the big data projects, do remember you are not gonna remove or reject the record. The reason is if you try to reject a complete record for just a null value of on a particular column. For example, as I told you this, let's assume, you know, on employee salary, I'm doing analysis on my employee salary and let's say company name. Now, absolutely, it doesn't make any sense for me to remove this particular record. Whereas if you see this particular record, only I don't have name, but I have the company details and I have the salary. I did not get the name. For example, you're trying to fill an online application form or whatever it is, you did not get the name, but the record is valid for me. So for example, IBM, I'm doing analysis on what is an average salary of IBM. I know these two records are important for us. So we don't reject a record anytime. Actually, it is a very rare scenario where we reject the record. Instead, what we do here is, please look at this, what we do. Now, can you look into this here? We are trying to add employee data frame.na.fill. Please look at this. We are trying to fill wherever there is a null value with a column as null in source. This is a very common string what we give, null in source. That means your source is sending as null values. Okay. Now, for example, what it does is, for example, I want to add null in source only for the columns, for example, name and company name. Okay. Now look at this. If I execute this, so it will add the null in source only for name and company name. Now let me execute this piece of a code here. Now please look at this. We are adding, we are not rejecting anything. Can you see this? Still we have null values here. Still we have null values here. But for the other columns which has null in source, for example, I am considering only name and company in this example. So wherever there is a null value, I will tend to use null in source. Now you can ask me a question, sir, why even then there is a null value here for the salary field? I am not adding null in source. Question is why? I'm putting on the question for you. Can you tell me
It's a
how
number,
you
sir.
handle?
Salary is a number.
Fine, but still I have to filter the null values for salary also, right?
After we filter this, then we can, after we add this, then we can filter, like drop all the columns having null.
Okay, so you meant to say for salary, whichever is having null, you're gonna drop.
Yeah.
Okay, I can take that approach. Any other approach you can think of? Now, do importantly remember, guys, the data what we deal is not just for your data engineering. We also deal the data. We actually use this data for our model building also. If you're working on machine learning, we use this data for even for model building. So it is not only for building your data pipeline architecture. This is very important. So in this kind of a scenarios, for example, in this particular field, salary, I don't reject the record. Why? Because as I told you, this data is also used for my model building. So rejecting this record, I will lose the actual the data. So now question is, I see an answer from Vinay telling that, you know, you reject the salary, you reject the complete record where the salary is null, right, Vinay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, now that approach is absolutely fine. As I told you, it depends on purely on the scenario. But as I told you that if you take realistic examples, the data will also be used by your, you know, for performing your machine learning also. Now, in this kind of a scenarios, in general, what we do is we don't reject the records. However, what we do is we take a average salary and then we fill the null value with the average salary. Don't you think now almost at least the result would be fine? When we take an average salary, what we do is for a TCS, we take the average salary, and then in place of this null value, we fill the average salary for TCS. Does that give you more insights rather than rejecting the record?
So we can take the default value also. Can we assign a default?
What is the default value? Salary, for example, yeah, it depends on the scenario. For example, if you want to take your starting salary, the base salary, yeah, you can put your base salary also. But however, in terms of machine learning, what we generally do is we fill these null values with the average salary, because this average salary, we don't know when we take the base salary can be high or low. So what we do is we take an average. So that will neither fall into the lower bound, neither falls into the upper bound. So we deal that way. For example, for some of the fields. Now, don't you accept this solution?
Yes, sir.
Right, it depends on purely on this scenario. For example, now in this case, if you see the company itself is null in source, so in that kind of a scenario, you can't simply calculate the the salary based on the company null in source. So in that kind of a scenarios, what we generally do is we try to reject the record. Okay, now please note down the assignment as part of this particular topic. Okay, any questions before I proceed to the next topic, guys? So,
sir, one more thing. The
yeah.
last row, sir, since it doesn't make any sense. So
We will
how
reject.
do we remove that?
We reject. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Whenever we have mandatory columns, okay, for example, the mandatory columns has to be there for me to perform analysis. Then, we will be rejecting the records. Okay, right. Now, please note down the assignments for this particular topic, guys. You're noting it down? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, for this data set, what in general will be done is you have to provide a configurable value to specify what is the mandatory columns you want the data to be there. Now, for example, in this particular case, the mandatory column is, can you tell me out of this data set, what is the mandatory column you want to get the data to perform an analysis?
Salary and
Company and the salary.
Company.
According to me, it's only company. For example, if you don't get salary for a particular company, I take an average, right? For example,
sir.
think about a scenario for a company, you got null. Let's assume in this case, I'm replacing with null in source. Let's assume I got a null. Now I got the salary, but I don't have the company. My analysis is I want to find out the average salary for a company, right? So when I don't get the company itself, what is the point of me getting the salary? Think about other scenario. I get the company name, whereas I don't get the salary. In that kind of a scenario, what I do?
I'll take the average.
An average.
Average. So the priority here is mandatory field or feature or the column for which I don't want the null value is company. So for any of the records, if I get the null value for a company, I'm going to reject that record. That is the first activity. Clear? Second activity out of this is wherever you have a company and the salary as null, you have to write a logic where you replace salary with the mean value of the company. Okay, these two things you have to do out of this data. Any questions before I proceed?
Sir, rejecting in the first scenario, you said we have to reject it. You mean
In the
have to
first
drop
scenario is you have to provide a configurable column. For example, you will specify the column names which is mandatory. So
Okay.
one such column name is company. So
Okay.
you will reject the records, complete records for the company which has null value.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay.
And
While
the
reading, it should not have the column row.
it should not have. When I print the data frame for the company null, you should not have the complete record.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay, please understand the scenario. That is more important. Dealing with null, if you just search in Google, you will get the code. It is not about that. How do you deal with null values is an important interview question, guys. Or when do you get null values is an important interview question. Okay. Now, second question is, as I told you that, how do you deal with scenarios like a particular field? For example, if you take a particular field, for example, with the real-time data, whatever I showed you, for example, last time I showed you browsing data. For some of the fields, we don't get, upload volume and download volume. So in that kind of a scenarios, what we do for a particular device, we try to average it out and then we add the value. Here, for simple example, I'm taking it as salary. But when I gave you the browsing data, so it is based on we have upload and download. So there we try to replace a average value, for example, based on the device type. So in this second assignment is you have to, for example, this particular record TCS, I don't have salary null. So what I have to do is I have to take the average salary of TCS and then I have to fill this value. Is it clear, guys? So when you start using this, then that is where you learn the data frames. Yeah, Gangadhar, go ahead.
Sir, in the previous project, like when I was working with the ETL stuff, RDBMS, like usually null and null, it won't match while joining the two tables. So we used to convert those null values into strings.
What is the previous project?
No. In my office, okay, in the ETL, it was ETL thing. In the RDBMS stuff, okay, we used to convert null into a string value. So to match the two tables, means joining the tables.
Okay, you mean to say the empty record, you will map it into something?
Yeah, some string, and then we'll try to match it, because null and null, it won't match, right? Like usually the join, it won't happen. So, but what will happen here, like null and null, it will get match while we're joining the tables?
No, for me, for example, the example which I gave you is equip ID.
Okay.
If the particular record equip ID is not there in my dimension data, I will add it as null for my device ID. I'll still retain my equip ID.
No, sir, what I'm asking is like the two tables A and B, and we are joining on one of the column, so one of the fields. So both, and sir, suppose there are two.
No, one second. Gangadhar, please understand. Yeah, I got your point. For example, you get your data for one of the column as null and lookup also as null.
Yeah.
Now, that's why if you remember, I specified you, we call this as dimension data. Now the dimension data, what we give, there are two types of dimension data. One is the product dimension and one is your customer dimension. And very good that you mentioned that, this dimension data, what we load, it is not simply dumping into the database. There will be a lot of validations done to your dimension loading.
Yeah.
So when there is a validation to your dimension loading, these are the mandatory parameters you have to specify. If not, the dimension data loading itself will never happen.
Yeah.
So in my case of a scenario, exactly, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Whatever questions you have, every big data project will have the scenarios. So what we do is, for example, similar to this use case, we had another use case where the dimension data was getting loaded in a different encoding. For example, we try to match with the equip ID. The equip ID is a string. The string was in a different language.
Yeah.
So in that case also it will fail.
Yes.
Everything will return as. So what we did is we incorporated something called as dimension loading.
Yeah.
So when the dimension loading happens, we try to perform a lot of pre-validations. So the data, whatever is there in the dimension data, we accept only if it is cleansed. If it is not cleansed, we are going to reject the dimension data, because this data is given by the customer, and there is some data is given by the customer. That means it is more error prone.
Okay.
So we reject this.
Okay.
Okay. In any company, this is how it should happen. If not, since each person tries to load differently, because this is the actual lookup table what we require. So if you wrongly load it, the system is going to behave it, very differently. For example, a wrong loading of your dimension data may lead to complete rejection of your records. Do you accept?
Yes.
So in that kind of a scenarios, when the data is already loaded into the data warehousing system and already perform some aggregations, let's say day level aggregation. Now, all of a sudden, after 2 days, you realize that, there is something wrong with your dimension data. Then how will you get back the data which has been already loaded into the data warehousing system? It would be literally not possible. So the complete 1 day of analysis is gonna go for a toss.
Yes.
So we are gonna add this kind of a validation. Clear?
Yeah.
Not just that, since you mentioned very good that point, we also have a validation where we also do one of the validation we have is that particular field should have minimum this length also. For example, mobile number.
Yeah. Yes.
The maximum length of a mobile number, for example, if I just take +91 and your actual 10-digit mobile number.
Yeah.
Whatever the based on the rules. Clear?
Yes.
Very, very good question, Gangadhar. Okay, is it clear, guys? Oh, very good, very good. I appreciate Gangadhar for that question. Yeah, any other questions from anybody?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, right. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, right. So you understood the 2 assignments which has to be done for this particular task, right? Okay, right. Ram, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, right. Let me get into the next set of problem statements, working with dates. It's very important, guys. Very important interview questions you'll get when you're trying to work with dates. Now in dates, can you tell me, in general, your data will have columns of which all columns will have dates? Can anybody tell me? In general, your data, which all columns will be of date type?
Record added date.
Okay.
Updated, created date, or maybe like something when a new
Timestamp.
Okay. Now, in general, you will have something called as report time. There is a fundamental difference between when I say report time, event time, and load time. Please understand this. What can you tell me? What is an event time and a report time? These are the 3 important. Even if you see the browsing data, whatever I gave you, also will have these 3 fields of type in general, the timestamp. Now, can you tell me what is the fundamental difference between the event type and the report time?
Event time is when there is some event happening, like in the transaction, if any transaction happening, that is the event time.
Okay,
and the report time is
right. Event time is the actual time when the actual event has happened. That is what is the event type. And one important point to remember, there will always be a latency when between the event time and the report time. So it is not guaranteed that when the actual event has happened, that event time itself, the data will be loaded into the system. No, there will be a difference between the event time and the report time. Okay, so now with this context, can you tell me what is report time, Vinay?
A report time is something like when we get the data to our this thing, I guess, like analysis.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, you're almost right. For example, let's say event time is I just made a call. By the time it went into the system, for example, there may be a lag of 3-4 seconds. So that is what we call it as a report time. And the load time is after performing certain calculations. After performing some calculations, the time taken, there can be a time taken of 3 to 4, 5 seconds for me to calculate some analysis. And then we add a load time, and then we load it into the data warehousing systems. That is what is load time. Is it clear? Okay. Now, when you get the data, you should always remember in any of the big data projects you'll be working on, you'll be getting the data with different time zones. For example, do you accept the point one particular country can have multiple time zones? Is it possible?
Yes, sir. In
Yes,
USA,
sir.
we have.
It is possible. Many people, we are not aware. This is very important. A particular country can have 3 different time zones. Correct? Now think about also a scenario where, with the concept of daylight saving. Can anybody tell me what is daylight saving?
In September, the timing will move to 1 hour earlier.
Correct. It will be 1 hour earlier. Do you think the time is actually earlier, or they provide you, they give you that, government gives you that 1 hour earlier?
Government gives us.
Correct.
1
The
hour.
time is not earlier, right?
Yeah, right.
Guys, can you confirm me on this?
We pull 2 hours or something for the US, 1.5 hour.
Correct. Correct. So for these kind of scenarios and all, when you do your analysis, you have to be you have to know about your time zone, and then you will try to convert the time zone into always the standard time zones. For example, in my UI, for example, I have a drop down where I can show me the call analysis for a particular time. For example, 3. Now 3 in India it is different. 3 in some other parts of the country is different. Now 3 refers to the UI, 3 refers to which particular time zone is my question. So all the data what you get, you will convert to the standard time zones. Okay. So you understand the standard time zones, right? For example, if you take India, for example, I think it will display here, right? If I show, 1 second, if I can see here. 1 second, let me show you if I see. Yeah, can you see this? For the UTC date, it is plus 5:30, correct? For example, similarly, for example, Kathmandu, it is for your UTC date plus 5:45 will give you the Kathmandu date, correct? So based on this, we perform some things on your real-time data. Now, let me go to the topic. So you understood that we will have report time, event time, and the load time. So it is very important to deal with the date formats. Okay, let me show you some examples now. Yeah, before I proceed, any questions yet?
So the report time and the load time that we'll be generating it, right?
Yes, the event time, no, it depends on the scenario. For example, event time
not
will
event
be
time, sir.
no, I'll repeat.
Report time and
I'll
the load
repeat.
time.
I'll repeat. Event time, for example, it will be generated by the actual source. And if the actual source is not designed by you, in that case, report time also will be generated by the source.
Okay.
For example, in my case, if you take the actual network elements is not designed by us. For example, for the computators, for us, there is, let's say, for example, we have Ericsson and Huawei. So they will generate the event time. But the software installed in their network to sniff the data is what we have installed, for example. So in that kind of a scenario, report time will be generated by us.
It's like a acknowledged time.
It is not an acknowledged time. I didn't understand what exactly you meant. Acknowledge. Where is the acknowledgement here?
Like when we get the data to our system, like there is some source generating the data.
Maybe that way you can assume. I'm not sure whether you can literally put it as acknowledgement. This is the report time. Okay.
The time when we ingest the event into
Yes,
our,
yes,
right?
yeah, very good. Yeah, time when we ingest. I don't know where acknowledgement comes into the picture. The time we inject into the system. So think about a scenario now. You're using Huawei network, and the software is also installed by Huawei to sniff the data. And only thing, the pipeline architecture is purchased by, for example, Cisco. In that kind of a scenario, report time is not in our control; it is in their control. So maybe they have incorporated a logic where event time and report time may be same. So it is not in our control. So it depends purely on the scenario here. Is it clear, Vinay?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
please
sir.
understand, look at the kind of a cross questions what you generally get. That is very important. So you should be able to justify your answers. Now, for example, I told you event time and the report time, what happens in the network as what we have. So there can be a scenarios where your event time and the report time can be same, because it depends on the deployment what a particular customer is using. For example, Airtel, they have purchased the network elements and the sniffing, the mediation layer from Huawei, and data warehousing infrastructure they have purchased from us. So there can be a variation between the event time and the report time. So it depends on purely on the scenario. Okay, right, very good question. Right, can I proceed this? Okay, I see there's no questions, let me proceed. Okay, now let's get into the problem statements of working with dates. Now, before we proceed, can you tell me how do you deal or how do you create a data frame from collection? Anybody?
2DF, sir.
2DF method? No. Where do you use to store the data? For example, in my previous examples, we have seen that we have the data in an array. And then what we did is, please look at this. What we did is spark.create data frame. Please understand the difference here. This is a very important interview question. Spark.create data frame. Then you used to give an array. Then what it did is it created a data frame. Now, instead of storing the records in an array and then invoking spark.create data frame, now the recommended approach is store the records in something called a sequence. Please look at this. I'm storing the records in a sequence. Now, the advantage of storing the records in a sequence is the sequence object in a collection API, you already have a method called toDF. This is very important. If you look into the earlier examples, what we saw, we used to store the records in an array, and then we invoked spark.create data frame method, and then we passed the records. This used to create a data frame. Why? Because this array doesn't have any method by name toDF to create a data frame. However, if you store your records in a sequence, the sequence will have a method called toDF, and you will be able to convert into a data frame from sequence directly with toDF. That is why most of the examples you see with sequence. Okay, right. Now let me create a data frame with a column as input date, and we have some dates in some specific format like year and let's say month and the date. Let me execute this piece of code. So now I have dates df dot show. I have my column input date with the date. Now what I'm gonna do now is, please look at this now. I will try to add the current date. I'm trying to add a current date. Okay, now how do you add a current date? For example, what we can do is, for example, can you see this? I'm trying to select my existing column input underscore date, and can you see this function called current date? Can you see this function current date? All these functions is available as part of the functions package. Current date, I'm trying to add a new column that is current date. Now when I execute this piece of a code, please look at this. Result dot show. When I do this, please look at, I'm added a column current date. So with the select clause also you can add a new column. That is what I wanted to tell you here. And one more important thing I want to tell you here is, by default, can you see this? The current date is in a date format. So the default date format what your Spark requires is in this format. This is very important. So what I've done here, I'll just repeat. I've just taken the dates data frame. I am invoking the select method, and you know how to select a column. I'm selecting a column input date. That is what is this input date. And then I'm invoking the function current date. I'm invoking the function current date. You have lots of functions. I'm invoking the function current date, and then I'm trying to add an alias dot as current underscore date. So it adds a column by name current underscore date in a data frame. Now with this,
Naveen?
yeah.
Okay.
Who's this?
Kapil, sorry. In the example which you showed, did it convert the input
I have
date
not converted anything.
Okay.
That is my next code. In this code, what I did, I just added one more column, where that one more column is my current date.
Okay.
This is just to show you that this is the default date format. Okay. Now look at this in this particular program. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Please look at this now. Now, so anyhow, we know this column of input date will give you the input date. Now I'm trying to convert. Please look at this. I'm trying to convert to a date format. Please look at this, to a date format. Now, please look at this, is very important. My current date format is in this syntax, right? 2002/01/21. I'm trying to convert. Please understand this. Now, what I'm doing here, now please observe this. I'm dot select. I'm selecting my column to date. This is the column which has date. I'm trying to say that particular input date is in this format. Can you see this? First it is year. It is year, MMM, and the date. So this is used to say my present column is of type what format. So that is what is this syntax tells you. So I'll just repeat, column underscore input date. I'm trying to convert to a date, which column, my input date, and I'm specifying what is the format my input date is in. My input date is in this particular format. Okay. So now let me execute this piece of a code. Is it clear, Kapil?
Yeah.
Correct. Now, if you see this, it is in a date format. It is in a date format. Hello, 1 second. Something is wrong. Yeah, I think we added an alias, right, to date. So it is this input date got converted into the date format. Make sense, Kapil?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, for example, you may drop this input date if you want. So if you see this, my actual data was of type string. I converted into a date object. So this is used to specify what is my data. It is in which format of date. Okay. Yeah.
Why MM is in capital?
I think that is how by default we give, right?
Okay.
Month.
That is how the format is.
That is how the format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Naveen,
Yeah.
sir, actually, Pradeep here.
Yeah,
So
Pradeep.
the to date, whatever you are converting, it should be of YYYMMDD format, right? But
It is to date. No, this is, it is not this. No. What is, Pradeep, can you tell me what is this one? First thing first. What is this? This is used to specify how your input date is in format, right?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
By default, that's why I showed you this example. By default, Spark expects, Spark will generate the date format in this format.
Okay.
So it is generated in that format only.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I thought like whatever you are specifying YYY, it should be of that format.
No. That's why I told you very clearly. This is to specify my source, my input date is of what type? What is the format?
Okay. Got it.
Right. Okay. Now let me go to the next example. This is all very popular interview questions, what they generally ask you. The date difference. Again, hope everybody understood that why do we take sequence, right? Can you tell me why do we take sequence, Kapil?
We could, because the sequence has a 2DF.
Exactly. The sequence provides you a convenient way to create a data frame with .2df. So sequence object has 2df method. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me create, I'll show you how to find out the difference between the dates. Okay. Let me execute this code. Now please understand the functions. That is what I wanted to tell you here. Okay, now these functions, if you go to the documentation, you have to explore more what all functions are available as part of the data object. So then you will understand the API. Now, the reason why I'm trying to tell you is as and when you get more experience, what generally we expect a candidate is how worse you are with the APIs. For example, if you take in, let's say in Java, if you take about array list, now there are possible chances that for very freshers, they may ask you what is array list or what is list. But in general, for people who are having 2 to 3 years of experience, they may ask you, can you tell me various methods present in the list interface, so that they will know how frequently they have used list interface. So you have to know about all these functions. Just go through the documentation and see what all methods are available. Okay, now what this piece of a code will does is, for example, given these 2 dates, it tries to find out the difference between the current date. So I'm adding a column current date. So I'm trying to find out the difference between. How do you find the difference between is date diff. So given this column name and this column name, it tries to find out the difference between the dates, and it will add a new column called date difference. Okay, I hope it's clear. So this is the input data. I'm adding a new column, my current date, and I'm invoking a function called date diff, and I'm specifying my 2 columns, and the result I'm storing in a particular column by name date difference. Let me execute this. So I think why it showed so much 158 days. Yeah, because there is a variation with the months, right? Because there is a variation with the months, it says that the date difference is 158 days. Is it clear? Any questions here, Naginder? I'll ask some people. Sridhar? Okay.
Yes, Naveen.
Right. Any questions here?
No.
Right. Yeah, Murli, go ahead.
Sir, if I want to see, currently it is showing in number of days. In case I want to see it in months or weeks.
You have to check whether any function is available. If there is no function, can you tell me what is your approach? Okay, I'll just repeat the question. Very good. Now, Murli wanted to see the date difference in months. Correct, Murli? For example, if there is a date difference, let's say 370 days. Correct? For example, now what is your expected output?
So basically it should say how many months between those 2 dates.
Okay, what is your approach? Now, the first approach, I will tell you how you have to look into this kind of a problem statement. First thing, you have to check whether is there any function available. As far as I know, there is no function available. If there is no function available, then what you should do is you have to go ahead and write your own user-defined functions, which I'll show you tomorrow.
Sir, actually, we have some
for example, is specific. That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to tell you how you have to approach a problem. First, you have to check whether is there any method available. If there is no method, then you have to go ahead and look into your writing your own custom UDF. Fine, Murli?
Sure, sir.
Okay, yeah, Vinay. Yeah, there could be some methods. We have to just check the documentation, Vinay.
We have already that assignment. We had it and we had done it.
Correct. No, I gave you this assignment. Yeah, correct. We have that method, right?
Yeah. That is how I got to know.
Right. Very good. Yeah. Anything else, Vinay?
No, sir. No,
right.
sir.
I saw your assignment. I think I will evaluate it. I think there is a better way to do that, but I'll just check. Okay. Very good. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Any questions here? Okay. All right. Let me proceed now. Now, please look at this again. Oh yeah, I think we have months between. I don't think so. We have years between. We have. Vinay?
No, sir. I didn't check that, but we had months.
Can you just check the documentation? I 1 months between we have, but I don't think so. Years between we have. Okay. Anyhow, so now can you see this? We have another method called months between. So which will tell you the number of months, between the current date and then your actual date. Okay, let me execute this program. So try to explore these kind of a method. It's very important. Let me execute this. Yeah, I think months between, let's say there are difference between 5 months, 5.19. Again, we try to invoke rounded off with, for example, 5.19, 5.16, that way. Okay. So these are the various functions actually available for performing your dates. Any questions here, guys? Okay. Okay. If there's no questions, I think we'll wind it up.